And what is it you want, banging around on such a lovely late fall day?
Is this Ursus Hall?
I swear, one of these days I'm going to put up a bloody sign. Yes, this is Ursus Hall. Yes, the Lord of the Manor is in. No, he will not be seeing petitioners or ruling on disputes as, given the lateness of the season, he has begun preparations for his hibernation. No, we do not have rooms available for travelers. The Red Tree Inn is a few miles down the road, and you won't be able to miss it.
Are you Chadwick Long?
I am. Yes.
Then you are who I've come to see.
Let's see here. Bearer of this document, thanks you for your service, should be shown every hospitality. Huh. So you've made Alvin's acquaintance, have you?
Seems you and the Crown Prince are awfully close if you're on a first-name basis.
Once you've seen someone get so drunk he nearly pisses himself or falls asleep in a puddle of his own drool, it's hard to think of him as your majesty anymore. Just wait a moment. I'll open the postern gate for you, and we'll get you out of this rain and into someplace dry and comfortable. How do you take your tea?
Scalding. With sugar if you have, and honey if you haven't.
Oh, I have a feeling we're going to get along just fine. Sorry for the wait. I had to go get my stepladder. I haven't gotten around to nailing rugs onto this thing yet.
Couldn't you just have someone man the door?
With what budgets and allowances? The people of Northridge love their lord, but mostly because he declared open fishing lets the people hunt on these lands and he doesn't bother taxing them. The only people working here are me, the rats, and the sparrows. And if I'm honest, the rats work harder for less reward than any hirelings I'd ever take on. Here we are, then. My old little domain. Step on in and get yourself warm.
Thank you. What is that?
What's what? Oh, that's just Matilda and Bruce. I needed them to mind the soup while I heard the knock. Matilda, this is Kerowynn Brooks, and she has come a very long way to talk to us. Now mind your manners and say hello.
Well, how do you do?
All right, you lot, back to your chores. What?
I didn't think you were being serious about the rats.
Rats are highly undervalued allies. After all, it's not like the Lord is going to stir his great furry bottom to come down here and help me with lunch. Anyway, the man-sized table is over there. Let me find my stool, then I'll come and join you. There we are. Tea's in the pot there. Honey and cream, if you like.
Thank you.
So, Alvin's letter says you're on a quest for truth. To find the real behind the myths of the world.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So, not to be rude, but where do I fit into this?
You must have been stuck in this hall a long time. Either that, or the little birds don't tell tales in this neck of the woods the way they do elsewhere. But they say that the steward of Ursus Hall can bend the ears of entire forests, and that even dangerous beasts are like pets to him. That the whole region has no men-at-arms because the very woods will rise to his defense. They say that drought and famine give him a wide berth, and that he brings plenty to all.
Gossipy little things, ain't they? Were you listening to magpies?
People love legends. I'm just looking for the facts.
Alrighty then, guess we may as well begin at the beginning. I was born as the youngest member of the Long House, and there were already 10 brothers and sisters ahead of me on the line. We weren't the biggest family in the Glen, but we were pretty close by the time I came along. If you didn't count the chairs at the table, though, you'd think every meal was a feast to judge from the smoke and the size of the larder. As it was, I was lucky to get 2 biscuits.
Is that a common misconception? That all halflings can eat their weight in provisions?
Don't get me started. Every inn I pass wants me to pay double the fee because they think I can somehow fit an entire wheel of cheese, a loaf of bread, and most of a roast inside me. I'm barely 3.5 feet tall. It's ridiculous. Anyway, my family ran a farm, so I was out in the fields from day one. My mother carried me on her hip, and when I could walk, they gave me a patch of my own to care for. It was mostly just a place for the littlest to play and pretend they were farming too, which was why my father was so surprised I've planted carrots and a few potatoes when no one was looking.
How old were you?
Old enough that they thought putting vegetables in straight rows the work of a gifted mind rather than a chore any dunderhead could manage. Anyway, my sister Patina was told to watch me, and I just kept right on planting. I did the same thing everyone else was doing, but you could always tell which plants were mine. They were the greenest and the happiest. Anyway, it wasn't long after that when I started to go wandering.
Wandering?
Yes, wandering. My parents would put me at my patch and tell one of my brothers or sisters to watch me, but without fail, I would walk away. They usually found me by the creek or inside trying to reach the cookie crock. One day, though, I was gone all morning. I was gone that afternoon, and it wasn't until the sun started sinking low that I wandered back. Of course, I'd made myself a new friend while I was gone.
Lord Bernard the Brown.
Oh, he does like it when people call him that. I just called him Bernie. He gave the folk who were looking for me quite a spook, let me tell you. It was a lucky thing old Gavin Gelderfinger was there, or it might have been trouble.
That name sounds familiar. He was a prospector, wasn't he? Struck it rich on the Kimshed Range and settled down?
Well, you do get around. He happened to settle down with a girl in my stretch of wood, and since he was the only gnome around for miles, no one else could talk to the bear I was walking back into town with. Little magic goes a long way. It was for the best, too, as I doubt anyone would have listened to what I had to say.
And that was that. You came home riding a bear and asked your mother if you could keep him?
Of course not. That would be ridiculous. I asked my father because I knew he was a man of poor judgment.
And how did you know that?
He had 11 children and one farmhouse to keep them all in.
Fair point. He said yes, I take it.
He did, but it took some time for everyone to get used to Bernie. But he could pull plow, shake fruit out of a tree, run off wolves better than almost anyone I know. Even better, once winter comes, you just have to leave him be till the snow melts. Best fair weather friend I've ever had.
And what about your other powers? How did you become a druid?
Well, if I had a pint for every time people asked me that, I could host the Solstice Festival for the whole nation out of my old pockets. My mom spent 3 seasons looking for a bunch of beardy men in green robes, burning sage and slaughtering sheep. Eventually she gave up, though I don't think she ever really believed me when I told her the trees talked to me.
The trees talked.
They weren't oak guards or elm tenders, if that's what you're thinking. It was just a grove that I wandered into. The trees said they'd been expecting me, so I sat and I talked with them. They charged me with my duty, and so I went out to fulfill it as best I could.
And what was that duty exactly?
In simple terms, if we're ignoring the complexity of spiritual communication and the difficulties of explaining magic talking trees, my duty was to garden. The whole world was full of green, and I couldn't be expected to take care for all of it, but I could make sure my patch was tended, and that no choking vines took root under my watch. To help, the trees called Bernie, and he walked me home.
That is simultaneously the vaguest and yet most specific task I have ever heard.
It took me a while to figure out the tools. Magic isn't easy, even if you have trees to talk to and a bear to question. I got the hang of it, eventually. Now it's second nature to me, so to speak.
And that was all you did? Just helped the rest of your town, tended the crops, and wandered the woods?
Well, it's a good idea to start small. Especially when you're already as low to the ground as I am. But after a few years, I ran into something a bit too big for me. Things were coming out of the forest and making off with whoever they could get their hands on. So I did my best to hold out and sent a falcon to Dragonreach along with the message that we needed help. Help came, and not a moment too soon.
The infamous Wildwood Reckoning.
I see you've heard the tale. Did Alvin tell you what truly happened?
He did not, no.
Well, perhaps someday, when you travel this way again and I have a little mulled wine in me, I'll share the story.
I would like that. For the time being, though, is there anything you'd like to set the record straight about?
I'm no sage, but druids are a lot like regular people. We have friends and family and jobs to do. We aren't crazy, bearded hermits whose only friends are chipmunks. Well, most of us aren't. We don't hate cities, and a lot of us are perfectly pleased to have a feather mattress when it's time to sleep. We eat meat, or at least most of us do. We'll take wine, and we don't mind that you have a dog or a cat in your home. It's just that we tend to look at the big picture rather than the little one, and that can make us seem rather strange to people only used to seeing what's near to hand.
Just one more thing, if I may, Chadwick.
Yes.
Would you mind letting me stay until the rain lets up?
It would be my pleasure. It'll be nice to have a guest I don't have to cheep or chitter at while making conversation. Soup seems ready as well. Would you like a bowl?
Well, I'd say that went well, and I didn't even have to curtsy to a bear. Maybe I can make it back this way around the spring festivals. I'm sure Bernard is a lovely host when he isn't crawling into his royal hibernation. Well, that's all for this episode of Mythconceptions. If you have suggestions for where in Evora I should go next or what I should seek out, leave them in the comments below. If you like these segments and don't want to miss them, then subscribe to the channel. Lastly, if you want to help us scrub off that watermark, consider becoming a Patreon patron, because the first thing we're going to do is buy the full version of Filmora so we can make cleaner, prettier videos for all of our lovely listeners. See you next time!